Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Becky, and we're parents to two little kids. Parenting isn't always easy. There are ups and downs, good days and bad days, days with way too much TV, and days with lots of laughter. Moments where you just feel overwhelmed, and moments where you've never felt more proud.
At the end of the day, parenting is super rewarding, but also super hard. This podcast is for all the parents out there who feel like they have no idea what they're doing, because we're right there with you. This is the Spillproof podcast. Welcome back to the Spillproof podcast. We're back. I'm Dave.
And I'm Becky. And it has been a while since we have done a podcast.
It's been quite a while.
Yeah. Our family has, nothing horrible's happened. We've been
very sick, everybody.
Very sick. Everyone has gotten super sick. I had a really, really bad cough. No COVID. Many tests, no COVID. But a lot of coughing. And we wanted to save you guys from hearing me cough incessantly.
I would have gone deaf in one of my ears from all the coughing.
Lots of coughing. Just lots of cold symptoms. We accidentally gave Owen spoiled milk and he threw up everywhere for a day and a half.
Projectile exorcist vomiting.
So, you know, podcast.
Lots of fevers.
You forget that you need to record a podcast when there's projectile vomit and fevers.
It's one of the last things you really want to do after being covered in vomit or when you have the fever.
Yes, because you had a fever.
101.9?
Yeah, but Owen took the cake. He was 102.9.
Yeah, he was pretty high.
So we just took a break for a little bit until we could get the family healthy again. And now we're all relatively healthy.
It only took 2 months.
It only took 2 months. You lessen the mask mandate a little bit, and everyone.
It's funny how that worked.
Sick.
All of a sudden, the masks went away, and we all got sick.
We all got sick. Again, not COVID, but everything else.
I was the healthiest I had ever been while wearing a mask.
Yeah. So we are back. Finally, we're excited to be back.
We are.
Yeah.
Get back into the normal routine, the normal schedule.
I think Dave and I are both excited to be back into our hobby and not just feel super exhausted at the end of the night.
Yeah.
And just kind of throw ourselves on the couch, because when you have two little ones that are sick and then you're sick,
it's rough.
It's a lot. I'm sure there's many parents out there listening. You're like, yeah, it's so tiring, and you're just trying to make it day to day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, after cleaning up all the toys, all the bottles.
Disinfecting things.
Wiping down the high chairs, cleaning the food off the floors and walls.
Yeah. And our daughter, Emily, it's been so long since we last spoke with you all. She's way, way, way more into solids now. She's 10 months.
A little too much.
And Owen was a messy eater, and we thought that maybe she would be a little lady. But she...
It appears you're not born with tidy, neat manner skills.
Yeah, no. She is so messy, and she loves her solids, which is great, but she is just as messy as her brother, if not more so.
I'm starting to think it's our fault.
Maybe it is our fault. I don't know.
We're the constant here.
Maybe we need to investigate this and talk with other parents and see how they taught their kids how to eat solids, and maybe we're just doing it wrong.
We're apparently not doing something, because our children, after every single meal, look like they took a bath in it.
But they're happy, and they're getting a lot of good food.
Yeah, their appetites are
give them very
good.
Clean, simple food. It's a lot of lean meats, vegetables, fruits. We honestly try to give them sweets a lot. And Owen, we haven't given Em a lot of sweets, or any really. But Owen will try to reward him with treats, and he's not that into it. We're trying to potty train him with M&Ms as a treat. And
but he'd rather have blueberries.
Yeah, he's like, I'd rather have blueberries, and half the time he gives me half of the M&Ms that he's been rewarded throughout the day because he doesn't want to eat them.
No, he'd rather be rewarded with blueberries or strawberries.
Yeah. We haven't had strawberries in a while.
They're out of season.
Random thought of the podcast.
Add that to the shopping list.
Yeah, but he loves his blueberries.
He does.
Today he asked me for different colored blueberries. And I said I didn't know if they existed, but I'd look into it.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah. Anyways, we are here today to talk to you about our travel tips for traveling with little kids. Because we've traveled a couple times with our little kids, twice or a couple times with one child and only once with two children. But we recently traveled again with Emily, our daughter.
Yes.
Because, you know, she's born during a pandemic, so we didn't do much traveling. But we finally did a weekend away just to get out of our house because we, like everyone, had been stuck in it for 15 months.
Yep. I happened to find myself with a free weekend, which is something that doesn't normally happen. And we decided to take a long weekend.
Yeah. Literally, it was like Thursday at 3 p.m. You were like, I have Saturday off. We're doing this. We're going away for the weekend. And we booked a hotel that night. And then I freaked out because I was nervous about going out into society.
Yes.
I freaked
out. There was a small panic attack.
Yes. I was like, I don't know if I can be out in public. Like, I know, like, we're vaccinated. And a lot of the population is vaccinated, but I don't know if I can do this. Like, I don't know if I can go into a rest stop, which I could just put a mask on and feel better and it's fine. But
at the time, it seemed
I was
daunting.
Like, this feels impossible. We're going to stay in a hotel. Are you kidding me? We need to bring sheets. We need to bring sanitizer. So I had a major panic attack that Thursday night, but I think it was worth it.
It was it was a learning experience.
It was.
It was worth it.
It was worth it, but it was in the middle of us all getting sick. And so, like, right before we went, we were all fine. And then the morning before we left, it turned out that Owen had a fever.
A fairly high fever.
Yeah. But, you know, sometimes you don't know.
Yeah, so our experience with this has been... Owen was how old when we went to Tennessee?
He was 5.5 months,
Yeah.
But before that, we also took him on a short trip to Baltimore because
That's right.
One of my very good friends from college was getting married, so we didn't take him to the wedding. My parents also came up and stayed with him in the hotel, but at around 3.5 months, that was like our first little road trip.
And he slept the entire time. It was fantastic.
great.
It was a quiet...
It was great.
Quiet drive. He behaved. In the hotel, he was good. I feel like he slept good in the hotel, too, which was fantastic.
He went down later than normal, but
he slept.
Yeah, he slept through the night.
Tennessee was a longer trip. Still the three of us.
Yeah, and we chose to...
Stop at a hotel.
Stop halfway. So it was like about a 12-hour drive total.
Yeah.
If you're traveling with kids, like Google Map it and then... add a half hour for every hour.
Bottle feeding caused a huge delay in everything that we were doing.
Yeah, because we stopped to pump.
Or just feeding in general.
And bottle feed him. And then, I don't know, when they're that young, it's just hard because they either poop or they need to eat or you need to eat. And it's like every hour you're stopping.
It was frustrating because we would leave at whatever time we'd leave the hotel. And then within 45 minutes, we'd have to stop to feed a bottle.
Yeah, because by the time we got up, fed Owen his first bottle, got ourselves showered and the car packed, and then got Owen some breakfast and then got him in the car. It was like, okay, he needs to eat in an hour.
Yeah, it added a lot of time that we weren't expecting to need to have to kind of factor into the travel time. It added quite a bit of time. I mean, we made good time driving because, again, he slept in the car most of the time. But the stopping, we didn't factor that in.
The second day was awful. The first day we made pretty good time. We stopped maybe every 2 hours. The second day we stopped every 45 minutes. It was insane.
It wasn't great.
It was insane. Anyways, we want to bring everyone our travel tips, our best practices, in our relatively limited experience of traveling with our children, but what we've learned, what we recommend, and
things we wish we could have done better.
Yeah.
And we have the ultimate test with 2 children coming up in August.
September.
coming up in September, where we are going to go to the Outer Banks. Now, we live in upstate New York.
Mm-hmm.
It's
like 12 hours.
It's 12
Making
hours.
Good time.
I've made it in 11 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
But that was just me.
So we'll give you our tips and tricks, and then we'll tell you what our game plan is for our
longest road trip yet.
Yeah. I'm honestly not looking forward to the road trip piece of this vacation.
But we can report back on how that actually ended up, and did our
Yes.
ideas really work, or were they epic failures and the whole thing was a bust?
Yeah, because I feel like pretty much 90% of parenting is thinking you know exactly what needs to happen and then doing that and then realizing that you should have done something completely different.
Hindsight's 2020, man.
Welcome to parenting.
Nobody knows what they're doing.
No, nobody knows. All right, so what is your number one tip or trick for traveling with little ones?
Snacks. Lots and lots of snacks.
Man, I didn't have food anywhere on my list, but that's so important. So important.
That was a big thing. I mean, we bought a van recently.
Mm-hmm.
If you're anywhere near the automotive business, you'll know selling cars is great. Buying them is a little expensive. I just happened to work at a car dealership, so we got a really good deal on it. Just like the housing market, it's all messed up. So we got a van, and one of the things that we did is it's got a huge front console in between the two seats, and we filled it all the way up with snacks. We still ran out. We still didn't have enough, but we just to the brim. And it really came in handy for like Emmy. We had teething biscuits and little crackers. And then Owen, we had animal crackers, Cheez-Its, packets, lots of packets. We also brought if you don't have one of these for a road trip, it's really a must. And that is a powered cooler. So it plugs into the cigarette lighter.
So great.
We actually brought milk with us.
Mm-hmm.
So Owen's on 1% milk, Emmy's on formula. So that obviously you just mix that, and all you need is some water. We bought bottled water, but that didn't have to be cold. But the cooler was a really big deal because we brought what, a half gallon of milk.
Yeah, one of the smaller half gallons, but that was also clutch on our trip to Gatlinburg because I was pumping at the time, and knowing that my efforts, my blood, sweat, and tears of pumping this milk on our road trip was not going to go bad.
Not a drop was ever wasted.
No, it was for pumping moms out there. If you're going on vacation and you're driving, getting, what is this called? A battery powered, or no?
It's an electric cooler.
An electric cooler for the car, right?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Like you plug it into the car. It's essential for pumping moms because you're not going to waste a drop of that liquid gold. You can bring it with you, and then as long as you make sure that the hotel maybe you're staying in has a mini fridge, you're good to go. And
Which
you're
most
not
hotels
gonna
do these days.
But you're not going to waste a drop of that. And you pumping moms out there, you know that, like, there's that saying, don't cry over spilled milk. But if you spill breast milk, you're going to cry and maybe have a complete breakdown if you lose even an ounce of that because it takes so much to pump it.
And the other thing I want to mention, too, is that we have at least one, if not two, very large pre-frozen cooler packs in there.
Yeah.
So when the car's off, when we're going into a store, when we're doing whatever, we keep that in there just to keep the cool kind of going. And honestly, when it was cold and frozen all the way to when we got to our just around 4-hour destination, still frozen, put it in the freezer, and on our way back home, it was still frozen.
Yeah.
We turned the cooler or the refrigerator in the hotel all the way up to whatever the coldest setting was, and it worked all the way home too.
Yeah, and if you're not sure, like if you're going somewhere you've never been before and you're not sure what rest stops are going to be along the way, like you might not know if there's going to be several fast food restaurants or like a general store type of place to get milk for your kids. And if your kids are younger, like obviously you want to give them milk. But it was nice to be able to bring the milk that we use at home with us and not have to worry about like, oh, we'll just like grab whatever we can find, if we can even find that at whatever rest stop we're stopping at. Because some rest stops are just bathrooms and vending machines.
Well, and it was actually a good thing that we did that too, because we weren't actually close to a grocery store or anything. The closest thing other than restaurants to where we were staying was a Hess station, I think it was. It wasn't, it was a gas station or a BP. It just, we could have bought.
And it wasn't big.
No.
It wasn't huge.
Or clean.
No.
So it wasn't like we could just pop out and go get milk. Now, we were in Ohio. I'm sure if we Google mapped it, we could have found something within 5 miles. But it wasn't close to our hotel. And we specifically picked the hotel because it was close to the beach that we were going to.
Yeah. My foot fell asleep.
That's unfortunate.
Oh, I'm getting pins and needles. It's also very important to bring snacks for yourselves as adults for a couple of reasons. You're stuck in the van for a while. If you're going to stop at a rest stop, you're probably focused on just going to the bathroom and getting your kids some sort of snack or treat to appease them. So it's important to have snacks that you like in the car so you can snack on them while you're driving. But also, when your children are having tantrums that cannot be stopped, because some tantrums can be mitigated, right? We all know that as parents, but there are some that,
that's why you bring an iPad.
No matter what you do, say, provide to your child, anything, like you could promise them 1,000 candy bars or stuffed animals or hours of television, they're going to say no and just cry. So you need to have a snack that you like that is going to help you get through the 2 hours of them just constantly crying.
100%.
Yeah.
We definitely went through that on our most recent trip where both kids cried. Not at the same time. It was either one or the other. Mm-hmm. And we do this thing at home, which it was unplanned. It's just something that happened where I don't even know how it started. Someone yells, not super loud, but they yell, and the baby will mimic it.
Yeah.
Think it's hilarious. And then
we all start. We all start kind of going like, ah.
In unison.
And we all start kind of.
We have a
Dave
pretty good
and I
harmony.
are not yelling, but the kids are yelling. Like they think it's funny, but it's kind of this funny thing we've started to do. So.
But it worked in our favor on our trip because when Owen was screaming his head off, typically what will happen is when one kid cries, the other kid cries, or it ramps the other one up. And with Owen, when he was crying, Emily thought it was a game.
She did.
So she would yell and smile and laugh and then look over at him and he would yell and they'd go back and forth. Meanwhile, he's screaming his head off because he doesn't feel good or because he's upset or because he wants to watch something or we don't have the right snack, whatever it might be. And she's just having the time of her life. So, and it went back and forth like that a couple of times.
Yeah, the way down, Owen was miserable in the sense that he had a fever and he got medicine. And then he had one of those tantrums where like nothing could help him. Nothing. Mm-hmm. His favorite things were not going to help him. Every parent has been there where it's just like some random thing has set him off and nothing's going to stop until he literally tires himself out. It's horrible as a parent to experience this and know that there's nothing you can do to help them except just kind of be there for them and be like, I know you're upset. We're going to get through this. It's okay. But like nothing you say is going to help them. They're going to be livid at everything you say.
And it did help too. We, like I mentioned, we have a van now and we set one of the third row seats up. So we packed a lot in the back.
On the way back we did. Not on the way down.
On the way back we did. So Becky was able to go in the back, kind of sit with them, try to help them out a little bit with calming down. And it worked. It worked to a bit. Now, at the very, very end, I think they both were screaming.
They were just done.
And
it's
it
like
was the
they
last
could sense we were close to home.
45 minutes of the ride. Both kids were crying. It was a lot. So the one thing I did forget that we didn't mention is we have flown with a baby as well.
We have. We flew with Owen on a trip when he was 13 months. We went to Disney World with my side of the family, with my parents, my older siblings and their kids who are a couple years older, a couple years to like 10 years older than our kids. But it was super fun, and we did end up flying with him. But
before we get to the plane part, was there anything you wanted to add to the car part?
Well, I was just going to say Owen was horrible on the way down, and then Emmy wasn't as great on the way back. I think she got like phlegm stuck in her throat, but she was making this horrible sound. Like she was trying to clear her throat and maybe try to like vomit up whatever was stuck in her throat, to the point where we did pull over, get off at an exit, pull over, make sure she was okay. So she was the one on the way home.
We forgot to bring things like a nose Frida or anything like that, which if you've never used one before,
I don't even think that would have helped. Nose Fritas are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if
that
would even help.
It's a gross concept, but it works really well.
Yeah.
But as far as bringing anything, organizing, anything you wanted to add to the car part?
I mean, hold on. Let me look at my list here. So if you're driving, because we're on the car part, do a test run if you're able to. I totally get that some people are not able to do a test run because their work schedule is just insane. And to be honest, Dave and I would not have been able to do a test run for our upcoming vacation in September if he didn't have this random weekend off. So Dave typically works Saturdays, and he randomly had a Saturday off, which was awesome, which is why we decided to take this literally last-minute trip to Ohio to get away for a weekend because we had just been in our house for way too long. But I would recommend, if you're able to do a test run on the road trip, especially with little ones. It has helped us. So we mentioned before, we took Owen to Baltimore when he was about 3 months for a wedding. And then 2.5 months later, we drove 12 hours to Tennessee. So it kind of helped us gauge like what Owen was going to be like in the car, what the experience was going to be like, and helped us prep a little bit. And now this time, going with 2 kids, even doing literally a one-night trip away, has helped me prep for our week-long trip to the beach in September, because I know that if the kids are awake and not sleeping, they're going to need to stop every 3 hours. 3 hours is their limit. That's true. We found that out, that there's we could theoretically, on gas, snacks, bathroom breaks, have gone very, very, probably the whole way there. But they hit their limit of being strapped in their car seats very, very tight at about 3 hours. Yeah, because I never really thought about it, but obviously they're strapped in really tight to those car seats, right? Like when you go to birthing class and they tell you how to do a car seat, it's like you should be able to fit 2 fingers underneath their straps, and like that's how tight it needs to be. And that's for safety, right? Like you need to make sure your kids are safe, but like as a human being, that's really tight. Like you have zero wiggle room. And if you think like a normal car or a normal strap, like you do have that wiggle room. Kids don't have that wiggle room. So like I noticed that after 3 hours, they were fighting against the straps, and they literally gave themselves like red marks because
there was
they were
little abrasions
pushing against the straps. So they need time to get out of the car, to get out of those harnesses that keep them safe, but they need time to be out of that to like reset. So we learned that through our test run.
That's a good point. Now, one thing I wanted to add to that, do you think it's possible to overpack with kids?
That is the number one thing on my list. Don't overpack.
So when we did our first trip, we just took our SUV down, which is a small SUV. It's a Forester. When we went down to Tennessee, we ended up renting a van, and it was fantastic. It was a Dodge Caravan. It was great. We, for one child, put the back seats down and filled the entire car, stow and go and all, to the brim.
Guys, it was absurd. Like, thinking back, it was absurd.
I don't even know what we put in it.
Oh my gosh. We had our travel bassinet.
Mm-hmm.
We packed for 6 months for all of us.
And we forgot the pack and play. We did
We
all
didn't
that
even
stuff.
bring the pack and play.
Yeah, we
but
didn't
we brought the travel bassinet, which is where he took most of his daytime naps at that point anyways.
Right. Bouncer,
But we packed
bathtub.
way too many toys. Granted, he was going through a phase where he had a lot of blowouts. So I was like, he might go through 3 outfits in a day. So I literally packed 5 outfits per day. We were there for a week.
And we had a washer.
And we had a washer and dryer there.
Right.
Insane. We packed a jumper because we wanted him to be able to have a jumper in case he got bored. I don't know, but we had a jumper. We had a bag full of books, which
Yeah, we brought
we didn't need 30 books. Right? We didn't need that many. We probably could have brought 5 and been fine. We brought a ton of random toys.
Mm-hmm. Which he never played with.
Yeah.
2 fans.
He needed those fans. So we get stroller fans, and I highly recommend stroller fans because
Mm-hmm.
they just keep your kids happy and hunky-dory when they're in their stroller in 90-plus degree weather. We were walking around in 90-plus degree weather, and he had 2 fans on him. And literally every parent we passed in Gatlinburg was like, why didn't we get those?
Mm-hmm.
Every parent was like, we should have gotten those. And they were somewhere between $10 to $15.
Yeah, they were like $12.
Yeah. Highly recommend those.
No, but I meant the actual room fans. We brought 2 room fans.
We brought 2. We knew that the house we were staying in with Dave's extended family had air conditioning, but we still brought 2 fans.
We packed a lot of stuff.
We packed so much.
And we did a lot better this time because we were able to put the back seat up, or one of them, just. And I think
still
we'll do better.
think we overpacked.
We used everything we brought.
We did. It wasn't actually. You know what? It wasn't as bad
When
as I
we go
thought it
down
was going to
to
be.
North Carolina, we're going to use a rooftop carrier. So the plan is to use a car top carrier, which we have, one of those soft bag ones, and then use plastic totes to put everything up in there, just to keep it dry, just in case. The bag is waterproof, but just to make sure everything's good, and make sure it all fits in there too. But we'll be able to move a lot of that stuff up. We might even be able to put both back seats up, just in case.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's true. I think every time we travel, we're gonna do better.
I hope so.
But I
Hope
wrote
we don't
down
do
some
worse.
rules to make sure you're not overpacking, and here they are. Everyone, this is scientific stuff.
We're breaking ground here.
Yeah. So think about the clothes you want to pack. Cut it in half at the very least. You're not going to need that much. I guarantee you. So cut it in half. Whether it's for you, whether it's for your kids, cut it in half. Especially if you're going to a place that has a washer and dryer. Cut it by more than a half. You will be okay. I promise you. Limit it to a few key toys. Our downfall with Gatlinburg was we packed way too many toys.
Agreed.
Pick a couple books that they love and a couple toys that, honestly, if they get lost or you leave them, the kids aren't going to care about. And then don't skimp on the sleep stuff. So make sure you're bringing a comfortable sleep area for your kid. So don't bring something that's brand new. Have them try it out once or twice. We brought for Owen our travel bassinet that he slept in a lot as a baby. When we recently went a couple weeks ago on our weekend trip, we brought a pack and play for Emily, which she had only slept in once before. And she was
exhausted but just passed out when she slept in it.
She did. She did end up falling asleep on her own, which was awesome. But she did wake up at 2 a.m., 2:30, and like needed to like be held the rest of the night. So I think we could have done a better job at like getting her used to that. But like make it comfy for the kids because they're so used to probably having the same routine every night. If you use a sound machine, bring their sound machine. If they sleep in a sleep sack, make sure you bring that sleep sack or like their favorite blanket or their pillow that they use. Make sure you bring that.
Just remember to bring it back home with you and don't leave it.
Exactly. If they sleep with pacifiers, bring extras. If they have stuffies, our kids are obsessed with their stuffed animals. Our son Owen literally has like 8 to 10 stuffed animals that are in his crib. It's a problem.
It's a problem.
He has his 2 owl stuffed animals that like he cannot go anywhere without. His mochis. And then he has literally 8 other stuffed animals that must be in the crib with him. He doesn't like snuggle with them at night, but they must be lined up in his crib.
Currently piled up.
Yes. They used to be lined up along the edge, and now they have to be like in a pile at the top of his crib. Mm-hmm. But especially with sleeping, like don't skimp on that stuff. Like don't forget the essentials that they need to sleep because otherwise you won't sleep on vacation. And that just stinks because you're trying to get away too. Mm-hmm. And then if you are like, because listen, vacations with kids during the day, there's going to be stressors regardless of what you do. There's going to be stressors. These kids are going to throw you curveballs. You're going to run into scenarios you never thought you were going to run into. But if you can make sleep time as normal as possible for them, at least you can get a good night's sleep or like have a couple moments with your significant other while they're sleeping. Mm-hmm. Or maybe you can go out to dinner if you have a babysitter, if you've brought relatives to watch them for those like first initial hours when they fall asleep so that you can get away and actually have like a true vacation.
Yeah, it makes you're going to be exhausted no matter what, but being sleep deprived on a vacation and exhausted is so much harder than just being exhausted but getting a good night's sleep. Yeah. 100%.
Because you're not going to be in your own bed either. So make them feel as normal as possible during bedtime.
I think that's a good one.
Yeah, that is a good one. Good job, Becky.
You just give yourself a pat on the back.
You know it.
All right. I think that covers pretty much everything on the driving as far as what we've done. The airplane was an interesting thing. Mm-hmm. So we did a nonstop flight, which honestly, even if it's a couple extra bucks, and by that I mean a couple hundred extra bucks, it is 100% worth it to do a straight flight.
Yeah.
If at all possible. The thought of having to do a connecting flight, we've flown a lot for a lot of trips, and it was either a super long layover where you just were bored and having to corral a toddler and a baby sounds awful, mm-hmm. or it was we're held up at the gate and we get off the plane and we have 5 minutes to get to our next gate, which is all the way out the other side of the airport, and you have to run all the way there just to hold the plane. Doing that with a toddler and an infant is probably impossible. At that point, you might as well just miss the flight.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell everyone, you get stressed out by traveling. So if you are someone who, or not traveling, flying, like when you have connecting flights.
Yeah.
It stresses you out. It stresses me out.
In general.
But it like, I would say it really stresses you out. So if that's something that does really stress you out, don't put yourself in that situation. Especially with kids, it's going to make it 1 million times worse. Mm-hmm. If you love having layovers in an airport and, you know, you love exploring, then maybe you're someone who is cool with a layover. Us, we're not necessarily those people, So we would rather pay for that direct flight versus having that layover. Everyone's a little bit different, but for us, it was worth it to do that direct flight from here to Florida.
And one of the other things that we did, as I might have mentioned already, we only had one kid at the time. We had Owen. He was 8 months.
He was 13 months.
He was 13 months. Just edit that into... so he was 13 months. So he was 13 months, and we decided to get... Well, we flew Southwest. So if you've flown Southwest and you're a person who stresses out, it's awful. Southwest doesn't have assigned seats.
Yeah, because you're not going to have assigned seats.
Right.
You're not going to know where you're going to sit.
And it's... The nice thing is if you have a kid, you're priority boarding. So I think you're like the third person-ish on. Yeah.
Kind of.
You can save seats and all that kind of stuff. It's very stressful. Very stressful.
Yeah.
Just in general, at least for me, because I like to know I'm sitting in a specific seat. If someone's in it, I can kick them out, you know. But we decided to get 3 seats for us. Now, we were with, as Becky said, the extended family, and there was, I think, 13 of us. But so we got a seat for me, a seat for Becky, and a seat for Owen. That was the whole row. And we brought a car seat because the thought is he could sleep in it, he could be safe in it, because we were a little concerned, like if we had turbulence or something like that. One of my friends growing up, his stepmom was a flight attendant, and she actually was in turbulence and like got smacked on the roof of the plane, and she had a lot of back problems, and it happens. You never know, air pockets and things like that. So we brought the car seat. Something good to know. Not all car seats are okay to bring on a plane.
No, ours is way too big.
No. Ours wasn't too big. Ours was okay.
It felt too big.
Correct.
But always check. Yeah, that's a good point.
So we have 2 different kinds of, I think they were Graco?
They're both Graco, however you say it. One is like the 4-in-1, and one is the slim fit.
So we brought the slim fit.
No, we brought the 4-in-1.
We brought the 4-in-1?
We did.
I thought we brought the slim fit.
No, we brought the 4-in-1 because he had used it more and we thought he'd be more comfortable with it. We were kind of idiots.
Okay. So he was also rear facing at the time. And I want to say we mounted it rear facing.
We did.
Which, you're in a plane. A front end collision, it's not going to make a difference.
Like if you have a collision like that in a plane, like having a rear-facing car seat is probably not going to do anything.
The poor person who was sitting in front of us, he couldn't put his seat back. Also, the other problem with that is that because the position of the car seat, it had to be in a very upright position, so his head kept falling forward, which was causing him problems to breathe. So
not breathe, but like stay asleep.
Right. Sorry, he was breathing fine. He'd
wake up because he was normally inclined a little bit.
Now, if we had turned it around, we could have reclined the back of the seat. We could have changed the angle, and he would have been able to kind of put his head back and rest it. But at the time, he was always rear facing. He's still rear facing at almost 2.5 years old, and for some reason that just made sense. It doesn't make sense. I don't know why we did it. But actually looking back on it, I think that we actually had discussed it, and the flight down, he actually stayed in it the whole time.
He was great on the flight down.
On the way back, which was we flew out at 11, I think.
It was
10?
like 11:50 our flight left.
Yeah, it was super late. He didn't stay in it at all. He couldn't fall asleep.
He slept for like 40 minutes, and he had been sleeping in the terminal in the airport.
Well, it was a lot of work to get him asleep.
It was. Dave basically like walked him around the perimeter of the airport 7 times and then found a corner where there was nobody and
the light was kind of dark.
Yeah, like hushed him to sleep. But we got on the plane and he slept for, like, we were those people, he slept for 40 minutes. And then at literally 12:30, 1 a.m., he started to scream. I remember you went to the bathroom because we had just dinged that you could, like, move about the cabin. And then you went to the bathroom and he started to scream. And my parents were behind us, in the row behind us. And I looked at them and said, what do I do? And they said, get him out of the seat and hold him because he's screaming and people want to sleep. So I ended up holding him the whole flight.
But it was nice to have our own row. It would have been a
was.
really big pain had we had to sit next to somebody. So I don't think getting the seat was the issue. Bringing the car seat was a pain. Now we had a friend who told us about this car seat strap, and it was bringing the car seat and having that strap was great.
Yeah, because you could strap it to your like rolly suitcase.
Mm-hmm.
And it made it so much easier to go through the airport.
Because it was so bulky, carrying it would have been a pain.
Yeah.
And the other thing with the plane. So we didn't want to rent a stroller when we went down to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Around that time, Disney was going through some weird stuff where you had to like be at the front desk to receive stuff, or
Yeah, like if you were renting a stroller from a third party down there, you had to like be at the hotel to receive it.
So just to put this into context, this was March 3rd,
Guys, this was a week and a half before the country shut down due to COVID.
which we didn't know. In all fairness, we didn't know. Nobody knew it was that big of a deal.
I did ask my OB, because I was pregnant at the time. I was like, hey, should we be nervous about COVID? And your brother's a PICU nurse, a pediatric ICU nurse. And he was like, you should be more concerned about the flu than COVID. And then we went. And while we were there for it was like an extended long weekend. It was like, no, COVID is very bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then we came home and like a week later, everything shut down.
Yeah. So we were one of the few people who made it to Disney before everything changed and fast passes went away and all that kind of stuff. But we have, and I can't remember, we got this for like a birthday for them or something. It is a Ergo Baby,
Like city metro stroller.
yeah. So it's one of those ones. Yeah, it's awesome.
Amazing.
It's one of the ones that folds like a Z, but it folds like a Z and it has like a sack with straps on it.
Like a backpack? A sack with straps on it? You mean a backpack?
Yeah.
Guys, it fits into like a backpack.
It fits into a backpack. It's a very big backpack.
It's like a backpack that they provide you.
Yeah. Well, it's more of a sack.
It's a sack with straps.
It's like a duffel with straps.
It's not tough.
It's big.
Guys, this stroller, let me tell you, it weighs 14 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
It folds up to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It can fit in the overhead of an airplane.
Mm-hmm.
It can fit like in your back seat with no room.
Mm-hmm.
It
in the footwell. It can fit right in the
can
footwell.
fit in the footwell. It is, and it's a little bit pricey, but it's an amazing stroller.
If you're doing traveling, or like we leave it in one of our cars just as a backup stroller.
Yeah.
Like if we
If you
just go
travel
somewhere.
a lot, though, this is a stroller you need.
Mm-hmm. Really well
because
built.
also, we looked at a lot of travel strollers, and a lot of them don't incline all the way.
Recline.
A lot
They
of
all
them don't
incline.
recline
They come inclined.
the full way. This stroller reclines almost to laying flat, and we knew that we would have a 13-month-old sleeping on the go in Disney World. So we were like, he needs to be able to lay back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
This was perfect for us. And we were lucky enough to be gifted it
Mm-hmm.
by our parents. They went in on it together. But if you do have the means to be able to get this, it is so worth it.
Or if you can find one used too.
Yeah,
'Cause they're
absolutely.
built fantastic. I don't remember what I was going to say.
We got so distracted by this stroller that we love.
Oh, so also at one of our upcoming podcasts, we're going to go over a review of some of our favorite products, and that'll definitely be on there.
Yeah, for sure. But where were we? Jeez. Flying, car seats.
Flying with toddlers.
Flying with toddlers.
Babies.
It's never going to be roses and daisies.
What did you find easier, using an SUV, car, or van for traveling with kids and kid?
Van. So, well, gosh. I would say like a van, because you can really pack whatever you want and not have to
Worry about space.
Yes, worry about space. But on our last trip, which was one night away, we drove 4 hours, spent the night at a hotel, had some fun, went to a zoo. Next day we went to the beach, then came home, drove 4 hours. I remember thinking maybe Dave will want to drive the 12 hours to the beach in September and I'll just fly with the kids.
This was not shared with me. I did not know this.
I have not shared this with you yet because I know I'm not actually going to do it, but part of me felt like I'd rather spend 4 hours max with 2 screaming children than this 12-hour drive, which really is like 15 to 18 hours.
Hey, listen,
with kids.
I'm driving.
Screaming kids.
My mom's driving. My brother's driving. If you want to fly with 2 kids by yourself, by all means. And I will take my car down there and I'll pack the Forester up and it'll be a great time. If you want to do that, I'm okay with it.
Part of me thinks that it would be better to be like, hey, everyone, I'm flying with my 2 kids. They're going to be messes. Sorry. They're going to cry for this whole 2.5-hour flight. What are you going to do? And just get through those 3 hours, then potentially have 2 kids screaming and crying and upset for 15 to 18 hours.
Well, so let's back up here. We've done a little bit of planning for our 12-plus hour trip.
Mm-hmm.
When I was able to do it in 11 and a half hours.
You were by yourself.
I was by myself, and I left at 7 o'clock in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly the reason why I was able to make good time was the fact that I drove through the night. There's no traffic. You don't have to worry about going through D.C. and getting stuck in traffic. So we are going
to leave in the night.
Right. So driving at night, their kids are going to be asleep for a good portion of the trip. Now, obviously,
hopefully.
Well, again, this is where we'll find out if this is a good idea or not. It could be an awful idea, and we're going to have to pull over and find a hotel. Who knows? But the thought is that they'll be asleep for a good portion of it. They normally wake up at 7 o'clock. That'll be roughly 7-ish hours into the 8-ish hours into the drive.
7 hours on a good day.
Well, if it's just me driving, you're asleep, they're sleeping. I mean, I'll just keep driving.
You think I'm going to sleep? I'm not going to sleep. They're not going to sleep they're not going to sleep from midnight to 7 a.m.
I think they will. So they're going to wake up.
I want to fly.
I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be fine.
Famous last words.
I've done this drive, I don't know how many times. In all seriousness,
you've done this drive with no children, as a single person with maybe your adult mother and your adult brother.
And kids, yeah, as kids, yeah.
As kids, yes, but not being a parent to kids.
No.
It's going to be...
But I can almost do it with my eyes closed.
This kind of brings me to my next piece of advice.
Don't listen to your husband.
No, set realistic expectations, especially if you have been to the destination before. But we can get to that. I want you to finish.
I'm done.
Oh, okay. Okay, let's get into setting realistic expectations. If you have been to this destination before, maybe it's a place like Dave, where we're going in September, where he went here every year for like 2 to 3 weeks growing up as a kid.
For at least 20 years.
Yeah. And like my family used to go to Disney every other year. We went there with Owen in March 2020, beginning of March 2020. Set realistic expectations. I originally had this written out as lower your expectations, but I thought maybe setting realistic expectations would sound nicer.
I was going to say, it sounds less dismal.
Yeah, it sounds less dismal. Not to say that you should lower your expectations, but like if you have gone to Disney every other year, like I have,
Oh, this is a good example. This is a good example.
Yeah, like you're not going to get on every ride, right? Like your experience the first time as a parent is going to be very different. So if you go into it with like not as many expectations, not having it live up to like the hype of the best trip you've had there, you're going to have a great time. So like I remember going with my college friends to Disney World on spring break, and we were at the parks until 2, 3 a.m. every night because they had magic hours. We ran around. You know, we ran on little sleep for that week. It was one of the best Disney trips ever. With a kid, we went into it thinking, listen, let's pick 3 rides that we definitely want to get on at maybe each park and shoot for those. And if we don't get on them, like, not ideal, but like, at least we have the things that we absolutely want to get on, or the food that we absolutely want to taste, and everything else is just gravy, right? Like everything else is that cherry on top of the cake. And that really helped us going into Disney because you'd been there as an adult and as a child.
We had fun. It was a different kind of trip. It was more it was more food based. Well, vacations are half food anyways. But we
guys,
watched
Disney food blog. If you are going to Disney World at any stage of life, listen to the YouTube channel, the podcast, I think a YouTube channel, Disney Food Blog. AJ will tell you everything you need to eat there.
It's very useful, but it's also like other tips, tricks, and things like that.
It's not just food.
But there is a lot of good food ideas, and we would have normally when we would go to the staple places, which is your kind of go to what you think of as like carnival food-ish burgers, hot dogs, spaghetti, pizza, that kind of stuff. But we got some crazy stuff.
We had really good food while we were there.
Everybody that went with us, the whole family, was super jealous of all the stuff that we were getting. And the lines were a little long to wait for them, but the wait was always worth it.
So we would, like, my family would, like, go to Pinocchio's and get whatever was there. And I was also about 14 weeks pregnant, so certain things made me feel really, really sick still. So we also had this, like, list of things, of these foods and these places that we had to try. So my family would go to, like, the places that everyone kind of goes to, and we would say, hey, we'll meet you back here, but we're going to go get this at Flame Tree Barbecue at Animal Kingdom, or I can't even remember the place that sells the amazing loaded tots. It's like Friar's Place. Friar's Nook in Magic Kingdom. And we would be like, we'll just meet you back here. We'll bring the food back here. And everyone was always jealous of our food. So, like, we knew that we weren't going to get on every ride, right? Because we had a 13-month-old. He can't get on every ride. And, like, we didn't necessarily want to do the baby swap thing and, like, take forever to go through that. So we prioritized food. We had a blast. So, like, just change your expectations. Like, if you, especially if, like with Dave, you've gone to this place we're going to in North Carolina almost every year growing up. It's going to be different with 2 young kids, right? So, like, going into it with, like, what are your top 3 things that you must do? And then if we get to anything else, it's that gravy, right? Like, it's like, great. We got the top 3 things and everything else is just like cherry on top of the cake.
Yeah. It's basically ice cream, aquarium, car ferry, and sit in water.
There we go. Easy.
Should be easy.
Set realistic expectations, though. You know, if you go in thinking this is going to be a replica of my childhood, or this is going to be even better than the best trip I've had as a single person going to this location, you're probably going to be a little bit disappointed because kids are kids. They're unpredictable. They might have a tantrum for no reason that you can ever predict. It could be because their shoes looked odd that day. Like, you can't get in the head of a child and understand what's going on in their head. The slightest thing could set them off. So just, like, pick 1 or 2 things that you definitely want to do. And then if you get to anything else, that's awesome. But for me, I have found that setting those realistic expectations of like, we're not going to go out to dinner every night. And there's going to be nights when the kids are hard to put down to bed or they don't sleep through the night. Or, you know, like we wanted to go out on a dinner date, but they won't let us and they won't fall asleep and they won't let Nana put them down. Like, just expect those to happen. And then when they do, it's not a big deal.
Yeah. The other thing that we came across while on our most recent practice run was, obviously it was a 4-hour trip. We were traveling during the day. We knew the kids were going to take a nap or two, and they were like 20, 30-minute naps here sporadically. I think they took 2 or 3 apiece. And as if you don't know, you can download episodes of Disney Plus, Netflix, Hulu, stuff like that. We made the mistake, and this is something you might not even think about because you're just like, oh, your kids like watching stuff. We made the mistake of picking, and I should say I made the mistake of picking shows that I know Owen watches or episodes of stuff or whatever. And the problem is that he didn't understand, which is, he's a toddler. He's not going to understand. He didn't understand why he couldn't watch certain things. Now, with an iPad, obviously, we're not connected to the network, so everything has to be downloaded. And it's super handy to have. You can download all sorts of episodes, but what he wanted to watch was on YouTube. But he's really into Cars Tractors, which is a really obscure thing, but they're on YouTube, so other kids must like it too. What probably should have happened is we should have sat down with him, explained to him that we're going to put some shows on here that we can watch later, and let him pick the ones that he wanted to watch. So that way when he looked at it, he would remember that he picked those items, and it wouldn't be a surprise, or he wouldn't think something's missing, because he's all over the place. Bluey, Puffin Rock, Aquanauts, Penguin Town. I mean,
He has watched 5 minutes of Penguin Town.
And he loved it.
Penguin Town gets more adult the more you watch it.
Penguin Town is like a soapy drama with penguins.
Yeah, we realized after Dave and I had watched a couple episodes, I looked at him and said, Owen can't watch this anymore. It's too much for him.
Yeah, we won't spoil anything, but there's
like way heavier topics than I ever would have thought would be in something called Penguin Town.
Yeah. So just something that we would have probably figured out. We also got a stand now for it, so we actually had to put it up against his feet, on the back of the chair or the car seat, and he had to have his shoes on, because if he had no shoes on, his feet would touch the screen.
He also just does not like being in a car with no shoes on.
Yeah, he's got problems. So we have a thing that, because they're rear facing and they have mirrors, we found on Amazon a offset mirror, so it still connects to the headrest bars, but it's like 6 inches off, so it can be on the side, so we can still see their faces, but it could be offset.
My advice too, hold off on the electronics until humanly possible.
Yeah.
Like delay it, because we made the mistake. Owen wasn't feeling good that first day when we recently went to Ohio, and we like immediately started him off with like, hey, we're going to get you in the car.
We went path of least resistance.
We're going to put your favorite show on. And then when he didn't have like the exact thing that he wanted to watch next, all hell broke loose. And tantrum central started. The next day, we waited as long as humanly possible when we drove home to give him any sort of electronic, and the drive was much better. So use that as more of like a last resort, in my opinion, because when you start out with it, I think kids in general just probably go a little bit more crazy with it. Well, I think it's like now that expectation that like you can't take it away as easily as like, oh, that's a lot of screen time. Let's have an hour without it. They're going to be like, no, I'm stuck in the backseat of this car strapped in so tight.
Right.
Let me watch something. So if you can like get them to do other things or like play with stuffed animals or play with anything else.
I think it's easy to forget that again, they're strapped in there really tight. They've got nowhere to go. They can't really move. And then I know as adults we watch TV to kind of decompress, chill, whatever. For a kid, a toddler, depending on what it could be, or it could just be watching something, that can be overstimulating for them. And when they get overstimulated, they start going nuts. For Owen, it happens to be anything that's ping pong.
Oh, gosh. I banned ping pong for a while in the house because he became a different person. Like you could not calm him down. You could not talk to him like you couldn't even talk to him like an irrational toddler. He was like on level 13.
Ping pong is a problem.
There's subliminal messaging in ping pong.
Well, it's bright colors, it's heavy movements, it's loud, it's bright. It has everything to overstimulate a kid, and it catches their attention. But at the same time, it might be a little bit of an overload for them, and they probably don't realize it. We didn't realize it for the longest time. Then we kind of put two and two together and realized that when he watches that, he just gets nuts.
Yeah, out of control.
Which is the last thing you want when you're strapped into a car driving for 4 hours. So
yeah, so if you are going to introduce electronics, let's face it, as parents, we need that sometimes, right?
There's no shame.
There's no shame. We're not here to judge anyone. Like, I know the official recommendation from the American Academy of Pediatrics is like an hour a day, but like if your kids have more than an hour of screen time a day, we're not here to judge you. Like, we've been there. We are there.
I was going to say, we're there.
Pandemic has changed a lot of coping mechanisms that we leverage. So we're not here to judge. We're just saying, like, pick your poison almost with that and delay it as soon as possible. At least in our experience,
for your
that
own good.
helped. Yeah. What else do you have on your list? I have like 2 more things.
I am out of things, so go ahead.
Okay. So my first thing is pack medicine and a thermometer. Because Murphy's Law, if you don't, they're going to get sick and need medicine. And you're going to be like, I think they have a fever, but I didn't pack anything to check if they have a fever. But if you pack it, they probably won't get a fever. And if they do, you have everything ready to go. Because you want to still, like, even if they're sick, like, you still want to have a good time on vacation and make sure that they have a good time on vacation and aren't feeling crappy. So pack the meds, pack the Tylenol, pack the, ibuprofen, know what their doses are, and pack a thermometer.
By the way, PSA for that.
Yeah. We didn't realize that the infant dosages, so like infant ibuprofen and not necessarily infant Tylenol, but specifically infant ibuprofen, everyone, is like double the dose of children's ibuprofen.
Which, when you sit back and think about it, that makes sense. It's for infants. It's stronger. They have to take less to get the same amount. It's all makes sense.
But it feels counterintuitive.
But it's not explained to you.
No,
so
yeah.
At some point, we got screwed up on that, and it's been corrected. We checked with our pediatrician. Everything's fine. But And actually, our pediatrician had mentioned to us that they're actually very against infant ibuprofen in
because
general.
It's more concentrated.
Because it's confusing. It's confusing. And if you read the ages on the box, you wouldn't know any different. And at least our doctor only prescribes
for children's.
So
regardless
if you
of
do
your
the
age.
Infants, you're essentially giving them a double dose. And
almost a double dose. Yeah.
Almost a double dose.
Yeah.
And if you're a new parent, you may not
Being
know.
a new parent is hard enough to make the dosages like that confusing to me is so frustrating. So before you travel, call your pediatrician, double check their dosages, Double check whether their amounts are for infant or for children's dosage. And
watch what you buy.
Yeah, take a picture of whatever it is in your phone, or like write it down in your phone so that you have it. And that way you're not scrambling. Like if for some reason you don't have internet access and you can't look it up online, like you have like a picture in your phone of what their dosages are and whether it's infant or whether it's children's dosage, and you're good to go. But if you pack it, they probably won't get sick, right? Because Murphy's Law, like if you're prepared, it'll be fine. But the second you don't prepare for that, for them getting sick, they're going to get sick.
Yeah, so it's something to think about, packing all the stuff. A small little med kit for them is a good idea.
The last thing I have on my list is research where you're going. So if you're like, we flew to Florida, and I was very worried that Owen, who was 13 months at the time, he was on whole milk. I was like, how are we going to get whole milk? Because we didn't have a car. We were traveling by like Disney travel or like Disney transportation. So we didn't have a rental car. It's not like we could very easily hop or pop out to a grocery store or a convenience store and grab whole milk for him. So I spent some time researching like what places in the parks had whole milk. Was I able to get whole milk at our hotel easily, which we were able to do, which just made me feel a lot better, especially with little kids. Like they have a milk that they like or that they have a preference for, and they're going to want that on vacation too. So I did a little bit of research beforehand to know like where I could get whole milk easily. But also like if you're going to the beach or an Airbnb or a place that's not necessarily like I call Disney an all-inclusive because we see it on the Disney resort. But if you're not going to an all-inclusive, like, is there a Target near you? Are you going to have a rental car? How easy is it to get to these places? Just so that way you are prepared for if you have to run out at midnight to get diapers or medicine or a change, like extra clothes or whatever it is. Like maybe your luggage got lost. You know ahead of time, like where you have to go and how you can get there.
That's a good point too. So we ended up packing a significant amount of diapers and wipes when we flew to Florida, and we brought back a significant amount of diapers and wipes when we came back from Florida.
We packed for 2 months.
So
when we went to Florida for a long weekend.
And we didn't need to bring that many diapers. It was overkill. We knew we could buy them there. It was a waste of space. That space could be used, and you didn't want to throw them out to make space for souvenirs because they're perfectly good diapers. That being said, another thing that we learned while flying, and it's something you should probably know, baby wipes will set off every single TSA checkpoint where your luggage is checked or scanned.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I forgot about this.
So, in the event that you bring baby wipes or any kind of wipes,
and they're not in your checked bag, like they're in your carry-on bag.
You will be checked. It'll hold you up.
They're going to search all your luggage.
You can bring them. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do it, put them at the very top of your bag. Don't bury them down beneath all your clothes.
Don't put them on the bottom. Pack them last.
If they can be like in a side pocket, put them in the side pocket, or just check them.
We got like they were very nice when we flew from, what was that, Buffalo to Orlando, and they were very nice about it. But they also we packed way too many wipes and diapers, and basically our entire carry-on was one of our entire carry-ons was basically wipes and diapers and some backup clothes. Like I said, we packed way too much. But they were like, how long are you traveling? And we were like, oh, we're leaving Thursday. We're coming back, or Friday. We're coming back Tuesday. And they're like, you have 13 packages of wipes. We're like, oh, you never know what's going to happen. But they were like, this sets off a lot of alarms for us because it's moisture. And they're wipes, so you don't think that like, oh, it's over the liquid amount, but it technically is over the liquid amount. So they were very, very nice about it and kind of just educated us on it. But
second time round, it wasn't as great.
yeah,
They weren't
flying
as nice.
home, we were like, we know, we have too many wipes.
In fairness, the Florida airport was not the best.
And like I've had good experiences at the Orlando airport, but this time flying home was not that.
Again, it was ramping up with COVID. So.
Right? I think everyone was probably nervous and everyone was on edge. Literally a week later, the country went into shutdown, but it was less than ideal.
Yeah.
But I actually remember I have one more thing.
Okay.
This is like,
go ahead.
Okay. My last thing is bring baby Gannex antibacterial wipes.
Again, another product that we really like.
Yes, because we brought a bunch of these with us when we flew. We wiped down our seats with them. They're baby safe. They're antibacterial. We wiped down rides with them before we sat down, tables before we ate. So I recommend bringing these. We have some in the house at any given time and in our diaper bag.
You can get them from Amazon.
Yeah, you can get
Easy
them
to
on
get.
Amazon, and I'm sure there's other like companies that do baby
Gannex is a really great
antibacterial wipes, but we just really like these and they have a really good scent. So
it's not overpowering.
Personally credit these with keeping us from getting COVID while we were in Disney World. Literally, guys, we were there from March 6th to March 11th, 2020. And we did not get COVID traveling to Disney World or on the planes because we wiped everything down with these
wear
before
masks.
we
in
didn't
fact,
wear masks.
we saw people in Disney with masks who were the typical people you see with masks, and we were thinking, that's weird.
Yeah, we were like, ugh, stay away from them. And then a week later, or probably a month later, it was like, everyone wear masks. But I just think this day and age, like, everyone's a little bit more worried about germs and spreading germs. And for us, this it's just a nice way to make sure that, like, if you're at a restaurant, you're sitting down at a table, if you're going to the movies, if you're traveling on a plane, if you're in a rental car, like, it just gives you that little bit of peace of mind where you can, like, wipe it down. Oh, sorry. I just hit my mic stand. You can wipe it down and know that, like, if your kid puts their mouth on that seat or that table or whatever it is, it's safe for them too.
It's a good peace of mind, and it really does work.
Yeah.
So I think we do like Baby Gannex bubble bath.
Yeah.
We've done a couple Baby Gannex stuff, but the wipes are a really big thing.
And like, guys, we're not sponsored by anyone. Like, we just started podcasting.
No, but we'd love to be.
We would love Baby Gannex. If you want to, like, hit us up, we're here. But this is just parent to parent. We like this brand, and we like these wipes a lot. So that's our tips and tricks for traveling.
Yeah, I think that's, again, we've only had kids for a couple of years now, and might get easier, might not.
Yeah,
as
we're
we
by
go
no
on,
means
but
like experts
no, we never
at
would claim
traveling
that.
with kids, but this is like in our 4 times traveling with children, these are our best practices.
Yeah, and this is traveling within COVID, traveling while COVID's kind of not a thing, before it, young kids, which I think is the hardest thing is young kids, because as they get older, they can kind of be entertained with things, but when they're this age, when they're baby infants and toddlers, it's a little more difficult, I feel like.
Yeah. It's harder to explain, like, oh, we're staying at a hotel because this is fun. Especially when, like, everyone tells you, build a routine and stick to it.
Yeah.
And then when you travel, that routine is going to be dead in the water and you're SOL and, like, just go with the flow. Like, it's completely counterintuitive to what everyone tells you. So just try to enjoy your time away as much as possible. And if you're lucky, hopefully you're traveling with some family and they can watch the kids for a night so that you and your significant other can have a night away.
Yes.
And go to dinner.
Small travel hack.
Have a few drinks.
Bring the in-laws.
Yes. Bring the in-laws. Bring the grandparents. Bring the aunts and uncles. build in that babysitter that you trust when you're across the country.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have time for you and your significant other.
Yes.
Because that's important too. All right, well, that's it for us at the Spillproof podcast. We're happy to be back finally.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll be hearing more from us soon.
Thanks for listening to the Spillproof podcast. As always, reach out to us at spillproofpodcast@gmail.com.
We'd love to hear from you all, and we can't wait to talk with you next time.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.